Major Mohammad Ali Shah. Stay on with me. I have more updates coming in. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar held a phone conversation with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on Saturday evening amid escalating tensions in West Asia. The two leaders exchanged Navroz and Eid greetings before turning to the regional crisis. According to officials, the discussion focused on the Israel-Iran conflict, and both the sides reviewed the widening impact of the confrontation, including fresh strikes in Lebanon and disruptions to Gulf shipping routes. This marks one of the several recent exchanges between Jaishankar and Araghchi since the conflict erupted, underscoring India's close monitoring of developments. The engagement reflects New Delhi's efforts to balance ties with Iran through BRICS while safeguarding maritime security. Now, Ambassador Sushil Singh, I would like your perspective on this. We've earlier seen Prime Minister Modi also spoke with Iranian President, and now what we have seen is Jaishankar has spoken to Araghchi. What could be India's role amid this conflict, as well as India's stance in terms of securing a safe passageway for their ships, in terms of where we've seen at least 3 of them have been docked. So in terms of all of these developments, what do you think about India's role?
Well, there are two side of this, two questions I would say in one. One is, what is India's role in this conflict? I would say that, India would like, India has made its position very clear that India wants cessation of the hostilities on all sides and respect the international law and sit down and talk and thrash out the issues. And there is some, as I mentioned earlier, the president of Iran in their readout have mentioned about the role of BRICS, and some Finnish president also, I think, has talked about India's role in the mediation. But I think that India would not get involved unless all parties give the indication that they want India to play a role. Because for the mediator, it is very important that all sides should request, then only it works. Because if once somebody just offers his services, it doesn't take you anywhere. So there, I think the Indian role, my view, is. Secondly, when we're having conversation, our leadership, Prime Minister as well as our Foreign Minister, having a regular conversation with Iranians and Gulf countries, as well as with the Europeans and Israelis. I mean, this is all on record. And at this moment when this conversation is taking place, I think the most conversation is must be around, this is my guess, it will be around, securing the Indians, because, Indian diaspora, and we should not lose sight of that. We have about 10 million Indians who live in Gulf countries, and so their safety and security is paramount for the government of India. And second is securing supplies for India through the Strait of Hormuz of oil as well as the gas, because India is dependent, as we know that, I don't have to go detail again that, how much we are dependent on imports, and Strait of Hormuz plays very important role for us. And now, very interestingly, USA has decided to allow Iranian oil to be sold to everybody. So this is an opportunity for India to diversify its resources or its imports, including from Iran, because the Strait of Hormuz for Iranians is open, and they have opened for India also. So I think this, at least the Foreign Minister, I think, must be talking about the possibilities, how we can buy Iranian oil, because Indian refineries are very well suited to process Iranian oil, because India is among the very few countries in the world who can process wide variety of crude oil, because every country, every refinery cannot process different type of crude oil, but India has developed that capabilities. So India is very well suited to process Iranian oil, crude oil as well. So I think there will be some conversation, but Iranians have also already thrown a googly by saying that their oil is not available; it's already tied up. So Iranians are also telling Americans, okay, thank you very much, you have allowed us to sail, but our crude production facilities production is already tied up. So this is very interesting scenario which is being played out. But as far as the India is concerned, India will be looking for more, more oil from Iran. Secondly, they will be looking for safe passage for the tankers. We have about, I think, 18 or 20 tankers and that are stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. And as the EM has already said, that what Iran is doing is not given a blanket permission, but case to case basis. So every time it has to be discussed. So I think this conversation would be, going around that.
All right, Ambassador.